Let's bring in Chris Best from Substack. How you doing,
Boom.
Chris? Good to see you.
Doing good. That jingle is unstoppable.
Yeah.
Unstoppable. We got to get a jingle for Substack.
Yeah.
What's the Substack jingle?
What do you have a tagline? What's
Yeah,
your
I'm
landing
going to
page
the
hero text?
The app for independent voices.
There we go. same melody.
I go with take back your minds. Take back your minds.
Okay.
Take back your minds.
Put that in the jingle.
How is the process of taking back minds going?
It's going pretty well.
Okay.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
Crossed 5 million paid subscriptions.
Wow. That's a lot.
Wow.
Awesome.
Apps blown ahead of, I think, all of the legacy media apps combined.
Amazing. Chris and I were in the same YC batch. Winter 18.
Another
right?
one.
Another
always
one.
So my biggest thing with John is actually probably good. If John had just invested in his batch, he would have been too post-economic to start a podcast, and we wouldn't be here.
It's like Coinbase, Instacart, Zapier, Substack. Even what was the other one? The crypto exchange that absolutely ripped the NFT marketplace. OpenSea was in our batch.
OpenSea,
you know,
Vanta, Replit.
Yeah. Remarkable companies. It was good times. So yeah, I mean, take me through the history and evolution of Substack and where you're going next.
Yeah, I mean, we were in winter 2018 together.
Yeah.
The basic theory is we're building a new economic engine for culture.
Mm-hmm.
We want to harness the power of technology, the power of world's, internet scale networks combined with a business model that actually powers independence.
Mm-hmm.
The simple version of that we started with is basically make it dead simple to do a paid email newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
But as the years have gone by, we've grown that into multi-format. You can write, you can do a podcast, you can do live video.
Yep.
We've got this network and this app. You can get the Substack app from the App Store and discover this whole universe of the smartest, best independent media and culture on the internet. And that's what we're building next. Basically,
Cool.
I mean, we're building a bunch of video tools. We've got this live tool that lets you do something that feels like a FaceTime call, and then AI magically turns it into like a produced podcast and series of clips.
Fun.
So if not everybody is the brilliant, YouTube sensations that you guys are, if you're just someone that has something to say, we make it dead easy.
That's very
Totally.
cool.
It's super powerful.
Was Ben Thompson really an inspiration? He kind of tells that story. I don't know if that's true. That's Stratechery, and he kind of pioneered this like independent newsletter creator, really scaled the business. But I mean, had you been reading him at the time? Had you taken lessons away from Stratechery when you built Substack?
Yeah, dude, there was a few people doing it, right? There was like, because we had this cockamamie scheme. We're like, hey, I bet you people would subscribe to, things they deeply value if you had something great.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a handful of people that were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Sullivan did this with kind of like the Daily Dish back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Thompson had Stratechery. And here was this guy, writing an email newsletter from his bedroom in Taiwan, making, by our calculations, millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
We're like, that sounds pretty sweet. Like, why do more people not do that, basically?
Yeah.
And the answer turned out to be it's way too hard. So what if we made it way easier?
Yeah, I mean, he's invested immensely in technology to build up Passport and what he's done, and now there's a few other companies that run on it. But yeah, where does this all go? I mean, I guess the big question is like, ads product, is tied to the written media. Wall Street Journal has subscriptions and ads. New York Times has subscriptions. And even after you subscribe, you still get ads. We are an ad powered show. Ads feel very, they get a lot of negative attention, a lot of negative stated preferences, but the revealed preference is almost always people don't mind ads and scroll right past them on Instagram and sometimes even get value from them. We've been very pro ads, but what has your take been on ads generally in the Substack world?
The thing that's actually different about Substack is kind of creator ownership and a model that rewards quality and value. So the fact on Substack that people don't subscribe to Substack, they subscribe to you.
Yep.
If you make something truly great and a bunch of people value it, they come. All those things are what actually sets Substack apart. The formats are similar to what you see elsewhere. You can write a long form article, you can make a podcast, you can do a video. Like those are not novel things. The thing that's novel is this business model that powers independence. The fact that you own it's your business, you're getting the upside, you want to invest in the quality. And I think there are methods of doing sponsorships and advertising that are that work with that, right? The fact that people are paying premium for you guys to advertise on this program, not because you're getting like the most clicks ever that gets sold at a market, like at some market rate for the demographic, but because you're making something special and you have tremendous, jingle skills. But the audience is like, is magical. Anyway, there are a bunch of people today. We're doing all subscription. We're powering that thing. That actually works really well, shockingly well, much better than people thought it was going to work. People are consistently surprised by how well that business model can work for them. But there are also people on Substack who are doing sponsorships and doing tremendously well. Yeah. And so I do think that model can and should coexist with high quality media endeavors.
Do you believe the medium is the message? We've kind of felt this where we decided to go live for somewhat of a technical reason, just with the way YouTube's organized, it kind of made things easier. But then once we were live, we realized, well, we're faster. There's no delay between us recording and uploading. And so we can react to the news. We could open up X right now and read a headline that just dropped with you and get your reaction. And it's kind of changed the nature of the show. What's been your processing of like the McLuhan ideology?
I'm a huge believer in live for that exact reason. We're building this video product that is live within Substack. Yeah. And I think it's almost like a hack that sets the social expectation. The fact that you're going to be able to sit down, make this thing, ship it off. It's not necessarily the case that the majority of the audience is going to watch live. Totally. It's great that those of you are here, but there's going to be a VOD, there's going to be clips. Those might be the places that actually get the distribution. But as a hack to make the thing, the fact that the social expectation between us right now is we're sitting down having a live conversation, makes it easier, makes it faster. It does feel different. Like, I don't know if you have this, but I feel, the feeling of being live is a little bit more energizing than otherwise.
Definitely. Yeah. And then also it just builds, we like it because it builds trust with you. Like, yes, there will be clips, but we're not going to we can't edit out what you're saying. So if you want to make your case in some way, we can't be like, we didn't want to put that in. You're not
I could go back to the tape and say, well, here's the full context.
Exactly. It's always there.
Can you talk about this? So one, I want your help kind of framing something, because there's in my mind, there's this stages of Substack, right? Like our audience, at least the initial core audience, is this sort of like terminally online tech enthusiast,
genius,
right?
Wealthy. That's a core audience. But
average net worth.
You could say terminally online too.
20 to,
goated, definitely, in the conversation.
Definitely in the conversation. No, but to me, there's been these stages of Substack where, like, I don't know if it was like a year ago at this point that I noticed that Substack had not become a household name, but it had become
outside of tech.
Emily
Oster, for example.
But it had just become something that kids I went to college with that aren't in tech were subscribed to probably 3 Substacks, and it was like part of that.
It wasn't just all like,
it was part of it became like clearly part of popular culture online.
And
was there a moment, is that like the wrong analysis and I just wasn't paying attention outside of our bubble, or did you feel something like that too?
I get this question a lot, and I think people, because it kind of grows in pockets, right? Like there'll be this bunch of crypto people that all join at the same time, or a bunch of politics people, or a bunch of finance. Like there's sort of like these, next adjacent market pockets as it grows. And so all along I've sort of had people ask me this, for like, it feels like Substack is suddenly blowing up. Like, what does that feel like? Has your life changed? And internally, like, it's just been growing really consistently, really steadily. Like the curve just looks like a steady exponential curve. And so it is kind of always true. Like this is the most exciting time. I do feel it too. Like I get less blank looks when I tell people I'm working on Substack than I used to. But yeah, it's been a steady march.
How has kind of the war with X, maybe the war is not the right word for it, but obviously removing links
platform changes.
Yeah, platform changes. I obviously frustrated a lot of the core creators who had been building an audience in both places. But from my view, it seems like they maybe, created a monster, like in the sense that it maybe made you guys react and be like, and it was like a short-term win, but will maybe be a mistake long-term, and that maybe it's kind of pushed you guys to think even bigger about what Substack is.
The funny thing here is that Ben Thompson credits his early growth with LinkedIn. and sharing links on LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn had an algorithm change, and he had said that it wouldn't be possible to build Stratechery the way he did in the modern LinkedIn era. So there was kind of like a LinkedIn vibe too. But yeah, I'm interested to hear how you've been processing just all the platform changes, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, this has always been my theory is if you want to build one of these businesses, you need a model that supports independence. You need people to be able to subscribe to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also need like internet scale networks to grow on.
Yep.
And in the old days of Substack, it would be, at the very start, like Stratechery, you'd have this newsletter, this website, but then you'd have to go on Twitter to promote it or go on LinkedIn or go on Instagram or whatever, wherever. We always want you to be able to do that. We want you to be able to publish. It's not a walled garden, like put it everywhere, put it on the RSS feeds, put it on YouTube, whatever. But you're totally at the mercy then of these other platforms that don't necessarily, sometimes they go to war with you, like Elon got pissed off at us, but a lot of the time they don't care, right? Zuck can turn around and say, we're not doing politics for a little while because people got mad at us. Yeah. And if you're somebody that writes about politics, that's really bad for you. And so we always knew that we needed to make our own network, our own place. Fucking Zoom reactions, man. I gotta turn that off.
I think
it's at the OS level.
FaceTime. It's at the OS level. Yeah,
I feel like I've turned this off 1,000 times and it sometimes still comes back. If we could just shoot whoever built that feature, that'd be perfect. Anyway, we had to build a network. We knew we had to build a network. It doesn't make sense. It's not like, Facebook or LinkedIn or X or anybody's TikTok's job to help you take your audience and own it and make something independent. It's never been their main thing. So we knew we had to do that. That's why we built, the Substack app in the first place, which is why Elon got so mad at us. He felt like we were, competing, but ultimately we just knew these independent places need their own network that actually wants them to grow and thrive. It was a big painful thing for people that were on the platform. It sucked that your links didn't work, super annoying. But it was a very small fraction of traffic. It didn't slow down the business or the numbers at all. Yeah. There was a lot of Sturm and Drang. It was very for people that are had a big Twitter presence and were trying to make a Substack, it was very painful and stressful, but it didn't slow down the growth at all.
That's cool.
What's yours in the team's sort of decision-making process? It feels like at a bunch of different points with Substack, you could make a product decision that might drive immediate, basically make the number go up, but maybe wasn't aligned with the kind of platform that you wanted to be, and maybe not even aligned with humanity. And on that note, there's sort of this interesting thing where every platform, maybe other than Substack, is sort of converging on being the same app, this sort of short form slopification of social media, where it's doing a slot machine with information. And it feels like Substack is orienting around long form content. We had Jason Fried on yesterday. Yeah. So that's sort of rambling, but
no, I completely agree. I was going to ask the same question. I feel like if I land on a Substack link, it's going to be written by a human. It's not going to be particularly sloppy. I might not like the particular topic or something, but I feel that it's going to have this premium vibe to it, I guess. And I'm wondering if are we just early and there's a coming wave of slop or that you're going to have to fight or
well, I mean, here's my take on this. Please. Is, I think if you put yourself in the position you described where it's hey, we've got this business, we're trying to make the number go up, and we either need to make the number go up or we need to make something that's good that we believe in, and we kind of have to make that choice. I think as soon as you have to make that choice, that already sucks because both of those choices suck. Right? It sucks if you kind of give up your principles and make the number go up, but it also sucks if you stick with your principles and the business, it hurts the business and the business doesn't thrive. Ultimately, the business of Substack needs to grow and support the thing we're making. And so the thing that we've tried to do is yoke the success of the business, set up the business model and the fundamental way that it works so that in order to make the number go up, we have to do the thing that's actually good. So an example of this is, the way that we make money is it's completely free to publish on Substack to any size audience. You guys should cross-publish on Substack, by the way. That'd be sick.
I know.
And then we only make money when you make money, right? So we're trying to help you grow. We make money when you make money. And so, we have an algorithm the same way that Twitter or TikTok has an algorithm. We even support short form video. You can see clips, you can read long form stuff, you can watch a long form podcast. But it turns out that when you're tuning the algorithm to introduce people to things that they deeply value and might pay for, the emergent effect of that is very different than if you take the same technology and point it at the goal of get people to spend as much time here as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I might pay and then be satisfied, close the app, but that's a win for the algorithm.
Yeah,
That's
our
reward.
algorithm says great, right? Whereas,
Yep.
Elon's been public about the links thing. It used to be just Substack. Now it's everyone. He's like, yeah, if you're scrolling your feed, you click into a long form post, you go and read that thing and get deep value from it. You just tank the metrics.
Yeah.
You're not seeing any ads. Like, what are we
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. It makes sense. How is the health of the overall creator economy? There was a big boom where venture capitalists were investing in the creator economy. That's kind of died down, but how healthy is the creator economy broadly?
Well, we were joking yesterday that Erewhon in many ways in LA is a product of the creator economy. There has to be double-digit percentage of Erewhon's revenue is just creator revenue, that flows in different ways and
A lot
then
of
just goes
influencers
into
in there for sure. A lot of G-Wagons in the parking lot.
It's the LA equivalent of like the .com bubble.
Yep. Erewhon.
I've never liked the term creator economy. Even the term content creator kind of gives me hives. Here's the thing that I think is not going away is, the media landscape is shifting. The legacy models have been eaten up by internet things that don't necessarily support, the old businesses. And there's this shift to a shift in power to independent creators, people like you that can just set up, start a thing, make something that matters, earn the trust of people by going direct, building an audience. I think that trend is extremely robust. I think that thing is sort of inevitably going to happen at this point, but I do think it's sort of undecided which version of that future we get. And so we see the thing we're working on at Substack is try to bring about kind of like the best and most valuable version of that future. But I think that shift is not going away.
Yeah. I mean, you talking about the content creator as a bad term. Do you prefer journalist, writer, like more specific scalpel like terms? Is that what you're getting at? Or what specifically don't you like about the idea of the word content or the word content creator, phrase?
It's pre-rational, man. It just kind of feels, it feels like a slop version, right? Yeah.
Sure.
You're a journalist, you're a writer, you're a podcaster,
An
you're
analyst.
a thinker, analyst, broadcaster, filmmaker, comic. There's a million things you can be. And I've made my peace with creator. Like it's a good generic term.
Yeah.
But I think there was a moment where we kind of like cargo culted the creator economy and everybody got really sort of hyped up about it in a fluffy way and missed the deeper thing that is actually still happening.
What actually happened is that there was like a specific data point, which is that VCs realized that content creators were the fastest growing SMB category. And they were just like, okay, we should deploy like $1 billion.
We got to make money off this.
We got to find a way to make money on this. And the thing that people missed is that had been a sort of, it was sort of like a decade into that trend. And so people funded a lot of businesses that were like banks for creators, but a creator's like, why would a creator not just use, we use Ramp, right? Like, or why would a creator not just go to Bank of America and just get a bank account, right? And so I think the sort of interesting investable opportunities were the Substacks, which is like a new economic, not to use your tagline, but like creating a new economic engine for media.
They should have invested in Erewhon, because that's like the grocery store for creators.
Or it's all down.
They should have just bought stock in Mercedes, because they make the small SUV
wagon.
for the creator economy. I want to talk about the value of curation versus instantiation of ideas. I'm not sure if you've been following Ben Thompson's erosion of like the evolution of like the printing press to the internet making distribution zero marginal cost to the instantiation of ideas with GPT and deep research and language models. It's become easier and easier to create a deep research report. The writing is good. It still feels like you can tell when it's AI written, but
it's at least fine.
Yeah, it's at least fine. But I guess the question is, are there any Substackers out there that are openly using AI tools to right, but the value that they bring, the human element is just curation. Because sometimes I feel like I should just share all the deep research reports that I put together because they're cool and I'm asking interesting questions, and the humanness comes from the question that I'm asking. And very few people would think to ask that question to deep research, and the answer is less important than the question, versus just the general trend in language models. If you have any takes there.
Yeah, I mean, the way I think of it is, we even before AI, we already lived in a world of infinite content.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get bored. You can't run out of stuff to see or watch.
Yeah.
And so the limiting factor is like your attention in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like what should you pay attention to?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to trust? What matters?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the human alignment problem. Like this is what culture is. It's not just getting what you want. It's figuring out what to want in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that's actually valuable. Even before AI, nobody's subscribing to Substack because it's like, oh, I don't have enough emails to read and I want to pay money for that. You're subscribing for a perspective. You're subscribing for some connection, some piece of trust, some piece of curiosity. And so I think all of these technology tools that just give people superpowers kind of supercharge both sides of that. There's 1,000 times infinity content. There's more than you could, even more, but also the people who have those relationships can have so much creative leverage. And I think like literally writing for me is one that's not that exciting yet, although it's not impossible. But like, yeah, help me do the research, help me figure this thing out, help me, put the pieces of this together. I think there's even people that have, Lenny Rachitsky has his Lenny bot that people, subscribers can talk to. I think all that stuff is awesome.
Talk about growth hacks. If someone out there is starting a Substack today from zero, they have no audience, what can they do to turbocharge their business in the short term?
The biggest growth hack I often have to give people is just start the thing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people I talk to are thinking about, oh, I should do this. Should I write 10 things? Should I come up with this plan? Should I do this? Everybody that succeeds that I see just goes, just gets going, just starts writing, starts publishing, try to make something good, try to share it with people. And really just have a very strong bias towards action, towards thinking and moving in public, and then kind of like correct based on feedback rather than trying to come up with some genius scheme. All that said, make great stuff, share with people.
Have you been able to dig into any of the quantitative metrics around the most successful Substacks? Like, is there a correlation between posting weekly and revenue, or length of post? Can a deep dive ever be too long on Substack or too short? Or are there any patterns that you've seen amongst the top performers?
There is a trend that says, look, all else being equal, being consistent and publishing pretty frequently really does help.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier, if you're publishing multiple times a week consistently for a long period, your chances of success really do skyrocket. Other than that, though, we sort of have the problem. You see this in marketing too, where sometimes the opposite of a good idea is a good idea.
Yep.
Where it's like one thing works, but also like the opposite of that thing also works. You just got to find something that's sort of good and differentiated. So make something that's interesting, authentic, that you actually like, and then make a lot of it is.
Yeah. I mean, we found that 100%. I mean, 15 hours a week, 3 hours a day. And not only that, but I mean, I think we posted on X 20 times yesterday and like 10 clips, and like some of them don't do very well, but you just set the quality bar where you set it. And then you just try and get those, let the winners ride, basically.
Well, I'll tell you what, you cross stream to Substack.
We'll do
Easy
it.
peasy.
We're
You're already
coming.
doing it. We got AI auto clips. You can make your
Fantastic.
own, but also people will just find them.
I love it. Let's hear it for that.
Let's hear it for that. I like the sound of that. No, I'm excited to get over there. To be honest, we've been the core challenge for TBPN is that we're a startup, but we're, John and I are the founders, but we happen to be live for 3 hours a day. And then we have to spend like a couple hours prepping the show. And so there's just like, and we've built out
We're individual contributors.
An amazing
and
team
managers.
now. But it's just about adding these other channels. But I see a ton of opportunity on Substack, and I just love how thoughtful you guys have been about building the platform and staying true to your values. It's awesome to see.
I have one last question, and then we'll let you go. Lessons from Lulu, going direct, What'd you learn from working with her? What have you learned from the most recent Lulu ideology and what it means to communicate as a CEO to an audience of investors, employees, customers, et cetera?
I'm a huge Lulu stan. I've learned a lot from her. Maybe one thing that is non-obvious that I got from working with her that I wouldn't have necessarily picked up on just from the output is kind of like in many cases the principles and the morals and the facts come first. The most important part of the go direct comms thing is not just how do I spin this or how do I posture it or how do I say it's like, are you doing the right thing? Are you, are you willing to stand behind the message that you're coming with? I think that thing matters a lot.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining.
This was awesome.
We'd
Come
love
back
to
on
have you
again soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Great
We'll
to
see you on
catch up.
Substack.
We'll see you over there.
Bye.